All right. Okay, so welcome, Sam. It's a pleasure for me to have you here. I've been listening to your music for a long time, and you're like an inspiration for me. I love the way how you feel what you're doing, the way you communicate, and what music means to you, as I can perceive it. So we are here connecting from Spain, where I am sure you have also like a big community. And I think it's going to be a pleasure to have this interview subtitle so that people can get to know you a little bit. Who's the man behind the songs? So
Mm.
the first question I would like to ask you is, in which moment did you realize that music is my way? Music is going to be the way that how I'm going to express myself and my love to other people. How did that moment come?
Yeah, it wasn't so much like it was one big moment, like big aha moment. It was more that it was like from whenever, since I can remember when I was a young boy, like music was always around, my family, there was always music being played and um, there was always instruments and things around. So it was almost like it was kind of there, and I can remember being very, very young and just always like, kind of like tapping on, things and making like drum beat and it was always like musical, it was like everything to me. And then as I started to get older and, other friends, got really into football and they got into like video games and I kind of did a little bit of that, and then I was kind of like, yeah, this doesn't feel right for me. And so I kept coming back to music and it kept kind of pulling me in a sense, and and I had a guitar when I was really young. I think I started playing guitar when I was around 7 or 8 years old, and I never had guitar lessons in my life. I just taught myself how to play, and this has just developed over time, over the years. Like it's kind of been unfolding in this way. Um, and then when I was probably around maybe like 16, 17, I was really into punk rock music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I played in some bands, I played guitar and sometimes singing in bands, and I loved it. I probably played my first ever concert around that time, and I just remember loving the energy, like loving this vibration of like people coming together, and it was different then, different music. It was very loud and very fast and like a lot of energy, but the feeling was the same. I started this feeling of like, wow, this is what I want to do. So probably around that time, when I was probably around 15, 16, I started to really feel that, okay, music is my way, and then over time that just started to evolve and change, and then from those bands I started to then write my own songs, and songs that were, being more influenced by people that I was listening to more. So like started to listen to the Beatles, I started to listen to Marley, I started to listen to Bob Dylan and James Taylor and Ray Charles, and all this kind of music that started to speak to my soul. It started to like do something, on a more like spiritual level to me. It was like, and Jimi Hendrix, all these people I was seeing them just like, wow, like I want to do that, I want to be like that kind of thing. And so it just started to evolve, and then over time, I was all from when I was very young, always questioning about life and like why are we here and who am I and what's all this about, and many other people that I knew or grew up with, they didn't really have that same feeling. They were just like, well, we're just here, like just get on with it, and so not many people were really like questioning in the way that I was questioning life, and I was just always connected to nature and always connected to. I always knew that there was something more, beyond the surface. I always felt this deep like feeling like there's something going on here, but I didn't know what it was. I just had a feeling. And so then over time I started to, when I also around 16, I started to read a lot of books about Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Islam, and I started to look for these answers to these questions that I had inside of me. And I started to practice meditation and yoga and learn about beings like Ramana Maharshi from India, you know, who had had these experiences of awakening and realized who they truly are, as opposed to what they've been conditioned to believe. And so then my music started to kind of reflect my experience. You know, my music is very honest. You know, I'm not like trying to be something or pretend or anything. It just comes through me. In fact, I don't even feel like I am doing anything personally. It's like I just get out of the way and let spirit come through me. And I allow that to be expressed. And sometimes, you know, I might sit down and write a little bit and kind of change some words and things. But for the most part, it's really like a very organic process. And yeah, so then I started to realize that music is my sadhana, is like kind of my spiritual practice. I started to realize that I can go into a cave and meditate and do all the things, but really, when I'm just playing my guitar and singing, it's like I find I'm just so content, so happy. And it's really, for me, it feels like my way to connect to the divine, to spirit, to God, the universe, whatever word, you know, I use. But really, that was my way in to something deeper, you know. And I didn't know it at the time when I was growing up, but afterwards I started to reflect and realize that, you know, I would spend hours just in my bedroom just playing guitar in this like deep meditative state. But I didn't even know that time, because I didn't even know what meditation was. I didn't know anything about that. And after I started to realize, wow, when I'm playing music, or even when I'm skateboarding or when I'm surfing, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm just present. I'm not thinking about anything, I'm just with whatever I'm doing. And so that's why I also fell in love with it so much, you know, because I couldn't really relate so much to other things in the world. And, you know, I didn't have so many aspirations of things in that way. I didn't really want like a good job and a big house or anything like that. I just, all I really wanted was to find that contentment, that deep peace. And so for me, music has been my kind of vehicle, my route, my pathway to.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. And I was thinking about there are so many people out there who might feel the same in music or with other artistic disciplines, who might be probably too afraid of their light, of their own potential, that they start to like to put rocks in their way in order to avoid getting where they actually want. So I would like to know how was it for where did you get that determination from, and did you have to like avoid some obstacles and fears? Of course you did, I'm sure, but I would like to know how it was and what did you do in order to actually get to where you are, and yeah, anything you want to share about that.
Yeah, I feel like in life, you know, we all face, for the most part, I feel like we all face the same challenges, you know, where it is that we do, you know, we all face these obstacles, and we all carry with us these stories and limitations and beliefs about ourselves and about the world. And so I definitely had that, you know, and you know, I've had, you know, time where I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, what's the point? You know, like, why? Maybe I'm not even supposed to be doing music. You know, that was a big one for me. It was like, I went to India and I actually just was like, I'm going to become a monk. I'm going to become a sadhu and leave everything. You know, I said goodbye to my family and friends and said, you know, going to just devote my life to God, you know. And so I've had these moments where I'm questioning and I have doubts and fears about it. But for the most part, I also felt very much like I've been guided, you know, and I feel very much ever since I was young that I feel like spirit is with me or something, you know. I don't really know how to say it, but I feel like it's very clear as well, just very clear in my path and in my journey. And doubts might come from time to time in different ways, but I've always had this strong, it's like a rootedness inside of just like, no, this is what I'm doing, you know. And sometimes I even be very stubborn. Sometimes I could even be like, no, this is what I'm doing, you know. And other people are like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. So yeah, I've always just followed my heart, you know. It's very easy to follow the mind, and especially in the world today, you know, it's like, I don't know, all these things going on. It's very easy to listen to the voice of the mind, which is also sometimes the voice of the collective mind of society and our parents, or like, you know, people around us who think, you know, you should be doing something else. Or, and so for me, I've never really listened to that. I've always just kind of listened to my heart and found that for me, that's been just so strong, you know. And I've never really gone against that. I've always just found that that's very easy for me to listen to that. I've had moments where, you know, I've had like amazing opportunities with people in the music industry where, you know, I could have been like, I don't know, whatever, like number one, or like all these things, you know, all these concepts. And I just didn't want to do it because my heart wasn't in it. And so I had many challenges with people around me that were close to me and said, like, you know, just go for it, just do it, you know, just like do what they want you to do. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. I always just found like, if I can't sing the music that feels true for me, then I would rather not sing than sing a song that somebody's written for me and says, okay, now go and sing this. It's like, for me, that's like the worst thing, you know. So I've had challenges in that sense of like, you know, sometimes having managers and things like that where they've like put me in a studio and they've said, okay, like you're going to write a song with this person. And I just found that really strange, you know. I found that very strange because for me, music is really like it's like a ceremony. It's like a spiritual process that you go through. It's like a journey, you know. And so to sit there with like a kind of mechanical mind thinking, okay, this is how we're going to write the next number one hit or something, is not really for me. So I've definitely not taken the more like traditional route in music, you know, but I was just follow my heart. And with that, I feel when you are genuine in your heart, and you are sincere, and you are true, and you will just meet, you know, the right people. Your vibration will connect to the right people in the right way at the right time. And you have to trust in that. You have to trust, and you have to have faith. And that's not always easy for us, you know, because we're very much about like strategies and plans, and there's a place for that also, you know. I'm not denying that. I feel like there is a place for planning certain things and having ideas about things, but also for the most part, we have to have that deep inner faith and trust. um and for me, again, my music is not kind of like traditional music that's played on the radio, you know. So I'm not trying to be anything in that way. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to be anything that way, but more just to live a life that is true. And in that feeling, that contentment, that happiness that I've always felt that I was looking for when I was growing up, you know, and finding that through music. And just like this, you know, just like now we're connecting in this way, you know, I get to meet all these beautiful people, do the thing that I love to do, you know, and I never wanted to work in an office or, you know, do things like that. So I just always really, you know, I was told by my parents, whatever you want to do, you can do. You just have to, you know, work hard. And so I did, you know. I would just every day I was playing my guitar, I was writing songs. And so for me it's been an evolution of that, you know, just really like focusing on that. And like I said before, using music as my spiritual practice, and in that finding like a deeper contentment, fulfillment. And that doesn't mean that challenge won't come and things come, and but it's like that's life, you know. We all have that. We all have those moments of doubt and fear and of challenge, and we question, you know, like, is this what I'm meant to be doing? And but that's just natural, you know. It's like when you sit down to meditate, instantly your mind is going to go blah, 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 blah. That's how it is, you know. But the ones who really overcome and the ones who succeed, in a sense, are the ones who are able to transcend that voice. They're no longer the victim. They don't just give in to that voice when it comes, but they're more able to just stand in their own power, in their own authority, and they're just able to trust in spirit and God, and they know that everything is unfolding in the way it should. They continue.
Wow, thank you. That's lovely, Sam.
Mm.
Do you remember the moment in which the very precise moment in which you made the decision of yes? Because I don't know, I was listening to an interview from your friend Nate, from Naked with Nate, I think
Mm.
his name. and
Mm.
and you told her that it was a moment when you were playing concerts on the weekends and at the same time working in the pub or in the bar with your parents, I think. And I don't know if at that
Mm-hmm.
moment for you it was already music as a yes, or do you remember the moment in which you just said yes, I follow it. I just give this to the universe or whatever, and I just go and trust. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I think for me it was probably around this time when maybe I was like just starting to write my own songs, which became uh, the first ever EP that I released. It's called Be Easy, and this EP was like, you know, kind of like the start for me. It was like the point where I realized like, okay, this is what I want to do. But at that time, yeah, my parents owned a cafe, like a coffee shop. So I used to work in there, you know, in the village where I grew up. And then I would go from the village and I would like go to London and play these bar places, and I'd go all the way home, you know, like hours, you know, driving. And then I'd go home and I'd work all week. And then at the weekend I'd go and play music all weekend in London, and then I'd come back. So there was a time when it was like that, you know, where I was kind of like back and forth, but I was still very sure, you know, I was very sure at that point that music was what I wanted to do. Um, but at that point, I was just still working, you know, with my parents in the cafe, and yeah, I was still young, and you know, I wasn't so sure of myself in a sense. Like I was kind of coming into my own. You know, I was learning a lot during that time. I was reading a lot and studying and learning and doing a lot of inward work as well. And so I feel I was just kind of finding myself. And in that, I was just kind of like, you know, doing whatever I could do. You know, if there was an opportunity to play, and I played in some really weird places. Like I would play, you know, sometimes in a club where it was like all the acts were like rappers, you know, and everyone was like, yo, 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 yo. And I'd come on, you know, I was like the only white guy in there. I would like come on and just like sing my songs. And people would just go crazy. They'd be like, yo, yo, yo. People loved it, you know. So had some funny moments, you know, but yeah, there was even from that time, you know, from the beginning, there was like a sense of like, okay, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Because I was getting even, you know, affirmation from people that, you know, didn't even listen to the style of music that I listened to. And, you know, they didn't understand like acoustic guitar and like melodies, you know, but it was like that, you know, somehow it was like they could sense in me that there was this like, like whenever I sing, whenever I play, you know, I just feel this like this joy, you know, just in the simple act of doing it, you know, just like picking up my guitar and sing. It's just like for me, it's just such a joy. So I feel like many people, even in that time, they could resonate with that, you know, and they would understand it. And also because, you know, I love so many different types of music. So you know, I'd be playing reggae, you know, I'd be playing kind of more like folky songs, and And I always had this thing with reggae where like I always understood patois. I always understood it. So sometimes I would go to a place, I would just kind of like play a couple of songs, and if people weren't into it, I would just kind of drop some kind of Jamaican patois in, and people would be, whoa, like, you know. So I used to love doing that as well. You know, I used to love that, and just kind of like playing with things, you know, and doing that. And then over time, you know, my sound and my style started to develop, and my voice started to develop. You know, when I first started singing, when I listened back to the EP, I'm like, wow, my voice is so different. Because I was still finding my voice. I didn't really, again, I wasn't so sure of myself in that way, but it was coming. And even still now, you know, I still feel like I'm evolving and changing, and you know, I'm still writing songs, and I'm like, wow, you know, I really want to explore this style and this way, you know. So it's always changing, you know, and there's a beauty to that, you know, and that evolution. But yeah, around that time, I would say, I can't remember the year when that was, but it was around the time when I released my first EP that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then I really focused, and I just like gave it everything, you know. Yeah.
Wow, it really comes to me the word effortless. Like not like
Mm.
making an effort, like working on it's like effortless, like the tree which grows and just yeah.
Mm.
Wow, it's inspiring. Now I would like to cover like the most related to spirituality part after having talked a little bit about music. The other day I was talking with my friend Alba, who is here also in the interview. She's also a songwriter, Alba Guaira,
Mm.
and she phoned me and she told me, "Wow, Pedro, I have just remembered." And I said, "Remember what? That we are young." She told me that we are young, and I would like to ask you, how was it for you as starting so young in this spiritual path? How could you combine both aspects of life, like having this, being in this search in which you spend so much time alone and you can feel so so little understood by others. I mean, sometimes it takes time to find a community of people who understands your language. And now with internet is everything easier, but I don't know how was that for you at that time. Which challenges did you have to overcome, and if you also had this like this thing of, wow, I'm also young, like I'm not the young guy who goes to parties, who drinks alcohol or whatever, but I'm also young, and I would like to know.
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, what happened was, um, when I was really young, you know, when I was like, I can't remember now, maybe like even, you know, yeah, maybe around 6 or 7 years old, I used to have these very profound experiences. When I would go to bed at night, I would experience this just vastness, just this emptiness, this space. And I would kind of like come out of it and be like, whoa, and I'd, you know, feel my body again. And it would go on like this for some time, you know, like a couple of years, where like I would lie down to go to bed and I would have this experience. And I never understood it, but it was so profound and so powerful that then when I started to, you know, I grew up and I forgot about those experiences. And then when I started to, again, like I said, was reading books about the Buddha and all of that, you know, like Hinduism and yoga and meditation, I started to remember again these experiences and started to understand what that was, you know. And so that was kind of always there with me, you know, those experiences, they kind of stayed with me. And then I grew up, like I was like 18, 19, and like going out drinking, partying, doing drugs and all of that kind of stuff and having fun. At the same time, like something inside of me, it didn't feel, there was something missing from that, you know. It was like sometimes I remember having these memories of like being in like a club and with, then my friends at the time, and like just kind of feel like completely alone, like completely like, what is going on? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what's all this for? I would kind of sit almost like in the corner, just kind of like watching it, just like, just feeling the sense of like, this is so weird, like, because it was very like see and loud and just like chaotic. And I think even at that time, I recognized like, this isn't my way, you know? So I feel like spirit kind of, again, was just guiding me through these experiences, and I'm grateful for these experiences. But then what happened was the friendship group that I had at that time, I started to kind of separate from them. And I just started to kind of say, hey, like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, and I remember it was just a very clear insight, of like, this is for me. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I feel like, sometimes I do feel like having a beer and, whatever, but it's this, I'm not cursing anyone. I'm just saying at that time, it was like, there was something else moving in me. There was something deeper. There was something that was like, there's something more, it's questioning that was always there within me. It started to come again to the surface. And that's where, I lived in the countryside of England. So it's a lot of nature. Most of where I lived was nature with a few houses. It was very, very it wasn't even a village. It was called a hamlet. It was so small because there was only a few houses, and everything was like just farmland and trees and rivers. And it was so beautiful, grow up in that environment. And so I remember those times where I would just take myself off, and I would just, I had my two dogs, and I'd go off and go walking in the woods, and I would just sit down, almost like, sit under the trees. And I felt this deep connection to the trees and to the sky and the earth, and that was really almost like my first guru. That was like my first teacher, because it really started to help me to anchor into this presence and this deeper kind of respect and reverence for life, as opposed to just going around whatever, party. I started to become more quiet, more like humble. And that was because of Mother Earth. She was speaking to me that the other people, they couldn't. I had other friends and people around me, but they couldn't hear what I could hear. There was some sensitivity within myself that there was like an openness to that. Whereas other friends that I had, they were just like, what are you on about? Like, crazy something, they didn't understand. So I didn't really speak so much about it. I just kind of had my experiences and I just chased them. And so, yeah, I don't know. It was like that. I just felt guided somehow. And I understand that when you're a young person growing up in the world, very easy to be pulled into, this kind of like identifying with certain things. And it's very easy to get pulled into this kind of style of partying. But even that, maybe that also has its place. Maybe we have to do that for some time in order to realize, like, I don't want to do that. So again, like, I wouldn't say to anyone, like, be like this or be like that. All I would say is just follow your heart, and now I find myself in moments like with just a deep acceptance of life and everyone, because I see that, like, we're all just on this journey, and some of us are going to be able to listen and hear things, and some of us are not ready, just don't want to listen. It's like my guru says, that, like, don't go around telling the world how to be and trying to express some kind of spirituality to people. Just be true, be honest with yourself, and honor your heart. And in that, the ones who are meant to come will come, and the ones who they're not ready for that, or they don't want to, that's also okay, and they'll find their own way. And so coming into this place of just like a deep love and acceptance for for everyone and everything, recognizing that all of it, even the negative, even the bad things that happen, also have a place, because that also provokes growth. And sometimes things can happen to people that seem very, very bad, on the surface, very, very bad things can happen that sometimes lead to like a greater awakening in people. So we can never say, like this is or that's wrong, because once we do that, we kind of, this is kind of how religions are formed, and we get very dogmatic and we say this is the way and everyone else is going to hell. And so I'm not really like that. I like to bless everyone, and whatever you're into, whether that is you just want to party, then bless you, like you do that. And if you feel called and you feel that urge to go deeper, bless you in that, like, come into that, and we can talk about that. But yeah, I feel like everything has its place in life, and I'm also grateful for those times I had, because I started to recognize and feel like, oh, that doesn't feel quite right for me. And that in itself was almost like the catalyst for me to turn the other way and starting to inquire deeper, and starting to learn more about spirituality and these different practices, different teachers, and things like that. So yeah, all I would say is just to follow your heart, really, and to be yourself, not to be afraid to be yourself, and not to compare yourself to other people and think like, I have to be something that other people think I should be, or I have to be a way that my parents will accept me, or like, don't seek validation from anyone or anything. I would say find that contentment in your heart, find your peace inside of you. Don't look for it outside from other people, or try to fit into other things, or even try to be spiritual and try to be like, I'm so spiritual, look at me, because that can also be another form of ego. So it's really just to honor yourself, and things will change, like for me, things change all the time. So I never say like, oh, I'm never gonna drink again, or I'm never gonna do that, because I don't know. I might find myself at a party one day and I have a beer. I don't need these things in order to be who I am. It's like I can enjoy those things without needing those things in order to like create some sense of fulfillment inside of me. I realize now that my happiness comes from my.
Okay. I got lost. I lost my internet. Back. Well, but I didn't even get nervous at all. I was just so calm and so connected with what you were saying that I was like, okay, my computer is off. My computer is on. Wow.
Mm.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, really. It's been such a gift to be sharing this moment with you, with Maria and Alba. I'm really
Mm.
looking forward to meeting you in person, maybe in Spain or whatever in the world, and keep on talking.
Yes.
It's such a blessing.
Yes.
Now it's
Mm.
yeah. I, I'm really interested about your relationship with Muji. That's something also that Maria was interested too. So maybe she wants to ask you directly, or I don't know, Maria, if you want to ask him directly, or if you want me to. I don't know if you want to ask anything in particular.
How is I'm going to see how my English is now, because it's a long time that I haven't practiced it. So,
Very good to me. So
so I have like I feel two questions. One is what has to be with your experience being around Muji personally for your own path. I feel that for some people that I have met, that to be around his being, that is one with us, is I see that people is like giving themselves permission to be themselves, no? So I don't know if for you that was like a point.
Mm.
point. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that we are here like remembering who we really are, and the way of doing that is to sharing in a very humble way in that Shang. And I think that you're doing that. You do that, and I would love to people to know how do you do that, and if we can join you online in these encounters. And
Yeah. Thank you, love. Yeah, I agree, you know, like when I first met Babaji, I call him Babaji. So if I say Babaji, I mean Muji, but I call him Babaji. When I met Babaji, it was not by any intention I had to meet him. It was actually because of Ramana, because I was living in Glastonbury in England in an ashram that's devoted to the god Krishna. And I went there to learn more about Hinduism and yoga and this kind of way of life, because like you were saying before, Peter, I wasn't able to, Pedro, I wasn't able to really meet with so many people. It was more like I was just having my own experience, but there was no one that I really knew that was feeling the same. You know, so I felt very kind of isolated at one time, and like, you know, I really want to learn more and meet more people that are into these things. So I went to Glastonbury, which is in the south of England, and I drove there and I stayed there for, I was only meant to be there for maybe like a month, but I ended up staying for a really long time because I loved it so much. And while I was there, I was walking down the street one day, and there was a book in the window of one shop, and it was called Be As You Are, The Teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi. And it had his face on the cover. And it just stopped me like dead in my tracks. I was like, whoa, like who is this man, you know? And it had such a big effect on me. Just seeing his face was like a mirror, you know? It was like, whoa, like it felt like everything that I'm looking for, like he's found it. You know, whatever it is that I'm searching for, like I know that I saw it in him. And I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything. But just the face, just the picture was like, it was like radiating this like love and joy and peace. And so I got this book and I read this book, and it was almost like someone had taken my soul and my heart and put it into words. And I was like reading it back to myself. It was like, it was a strange experience. And I fell so in love with him. I fell so in love with everything he shared. It was like so direct and so straight to the point, you know, and it just resonated with me. It was like everything in my being was like, yes, yes, yes. I was like drinking all of this wisdom in. And that's why I went to India, because of him, because I wanted to visit. Then all I did was like Google like Ramana Maharshi, like wanted to find everything about him. And then I found that he had an ashram and like all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I packed my bags and I went to India. And I went and lived in the ashram where he had lived previously, but he wasn't there. You know, he had left the body many, many years before. But even still, like just being there and like feeling his presence, it was so like, yeah, I don't have words, you know, it's like when you feel it, you know, it's just a knowing inside. It's like, no one can give that to you. It's just, it's so beautiful. And while I was there, I always had his photo with me, like a tiny little photograph of him in a frame. And everywhere I went, I would have it with me. And so people would ask me and like, oh, you know, Ramana Maharshi, you must know about Muji. And I was like I said before, I can be quite stubborn. So I was like, no, I don't want to know about anyone else. Like Ramana's the one, you know, like he is the one. And then it kept coming. Like everywhere I went, I would go to one place and would put my picture in my room, and someone would come in the room and they go, Ramana Maharshi, so do you like Muji as well? And I was like, no, like who's this guy, you know? And it kept coming, and it was like I finally got to this place called Rishikesh, and Babaji was giving satsang there, but he wasn't there. He'd just given satsang and left. But his photo was everywhere, you know, like Muji, Muji, Muji. I was like, who is this guy? And I felt drawn to him because I could see that he's like from Jamaica. He looks like a Rastaman.
Yeah.
And I love Rastafari and Bob Marley. And I have this deep connection to like Africa and this like this Rastafari roots, you know. And so I see him and I'm like, I felt this like deep connection, but I was like, no, Ramana's the one, you know, Ramana is the way, you know. And so I wasn't interested, you know. And then I had a really strong experience, and I had, you know, like a near-death experience in India, and you know, it was really crazy. And then ended up going back home to England. And when I was at home, all I could do was rest because my body was so weak, and I was so tired and so weak, and I was very poorly, very ill. And so I was just taking this like medicine and like, you know, basically just lying down for a while. And I opened up my laptop again after getting back. And because of what I was looking for before, like Ramana Maharshi, Ram Dass, Alan Watts, all these things, you know. And then it came up with this video like Muji, laughing Buddha. And I was like, God, I have to check this guy out, you know, I'm going to see. So I clicked on the video, and it was like in an instant, I knew that he was my guru.
Oh.
In that second that I saw him and I heard his voice, I just felt his grace. I felt his presence, and I felt his genuine heart, you know. It was like everything that I felt from Ramana, from Bhagavan, like I saw in him. It was like this, is the same reflection. It was like the same presence. And then many like crazy things happened that brought me to him. And basically somebody had sent him one of my videos. And in this time, all I was doing was watching Muji videos. Like I wasn't doing anything else. I was just like watching Muji satsang all day, every day for like months. And I was just so happy, like enjoying all the videos and like really like drinking it all in. And then one day I received an email from him, just like out of the blue, just like an email. And it was a video message from him saying, "Hi, Sam. I just want you to know that we love you so much. And we've been listening to your music here in the ashram in Monte Sahaja. And I really want to meet you. I want you to come here so I can meet you because I love your devotion to Sri Bhagavan, and I would love to spend some time with you." And so I was just like, wow, you know, it's like, you know, how has this happened, you know? And what had happened was somebody had sent a video of me to him. And from that, they watched all these different videos on YouTube of me and were listening to my songs. And I never made it to Portugal because at that time I was having my child, my daughter was being born, and I was recording an album, and like all this stuff was going on, and I just couldn't fly to Portugal. So he ended up coming to London, where I was living at the time. And when he came to London, he sent me another message. It said, "Would you come to my home in Brixton in London? And we're having a gathering, would love you to come." And so that's where I ended up meeting him for the first time. And just like you say, this presence and this being, as soon as he walked in the room, it was just like, it was like, wow. It's like I'd known him forever, you know. It was like this feeling of like, it was like an old friend that I hadn't seen for a while, but it was just like so familiar. And it was like a mountain. When he walked in the room, he's quite small, you know, like he's not very tall, he's quite small. But it was like a mountain walked in the room. And just like the feeling of the presence was like, whoa, you know, it was like so strong. And I remember just being in absolute like joy and awe of him, and just fell in love with him, you know, just his smile and his joy. And what I really admired and really cherish is that he didn't know anything about me. He'd heard my songs and stuff, but he didn't really know anything about me. And yet all I felt from him was unconditional love. As soon as he saw me and he walked in that room, all I felt was this deep, deep love. And it was nothing special about me. It feels that way to everyone, you know. And I feel like, yeah, being around him has influenced me in so many ways that I can't even really express them. It's like, yeah, just the way that I see life now, the way that I feel life, the way that I experience life is very, very different. And he's really helped me to see many, many things. And just being around him for me, even without speaking to him, just being next to him, close to him, it's like, it's why so many people want to be near him, because it's infectious, you know, that love and that presence. And yeah, so I'm just like so grateful and so deeply touched by having him in my life, you know, and knowing that he's like a father, you know, even though I'm very close to my father, but like he's just like my father, you know. And just being around that love and being around that presence is something that, yeah, I cannot really explain with words, you know. It's just it's something that I feel inside my heart, and something that I just have deep, deep gratitude for. And yeah, what to say? Yeah, just so happy, you know, so, so happy. And I feel like, again, this is why we have to trust in life, because I feel like we're all being guided, whether or not it seems like we go through hard things and challenging things in life. Everything has its place. And I feel like me meeting him was like, it was just guided somehow, you know. Like I said, I had no intention of like emailing him or like trying to reach out to him. I was just so happy knowing that he was on this planet and he was giving satsangs and radiating that joy and that love, you know. And so then for him to reach out to me was just like, wow, it was like just this beautiful synchronicity of like, you know, in the same way we are here now, you know. It's like life brings us all together in these ways. And I feel just very blessed for that, you know, and I feel very grateful for that. And then, yeah, since that time, you know, I've then started to kind of do more devotional music, spending time in India and spending time around him. It's really become almost like everything that I want to do, because what I found is like, I can sing a song and have people come and see me, and people can come and say, oh, it's such a nice song, I love your songs. And it's beautiful, you know, because there's a depth to the songs that come through me. But when we sit and we sing together, and we sing these mantras and these affirmations and medicine songs, songs for the earth, it's like we're all one, we're all singing together. You know, it's not like you're coming to see a performance and you're like, oh yeah, very, very good. It's like we all sit down together and we just pray and we sing together. And that to me has been the most powerful thing. And that's something that, you know, I'm just doing more and more of now, because for me, it's like, it's the best feeling of just being together. It's like so inclusive. It's not like a performer and an audience. It's just we're all get to sing together. And so me and my partner, Molly, who is here at the moment, but she's actually downstairs. When we got together and we fell in love, we actually fell in love at Kirtan, where we were singing, you know, and chanting these names of God. And we fell in love through that vibration, you know, and it really brought us together through the song. It was like our love was kind of formed in that way. And then she ended up leaving, going to India. And while she was in India, she bought a harmonium, started to learn harmonium. When she came back, we just started to naturally sing together. And we had no intention. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to sing mantras together. And we just started to sit and sing together for ourselves, you know, because it felt so good. And then she said one day, like, why don't we like open up our space and let people come, and we could like have a circle and just to see how it feels. And from that very first one, it was like dynamite, you know. It was like we drank some cacao and we set our intentions and we said our prayers and we just started to sing. And it was like, wow, you know, it was so powerful and so beautiful. And from that very first moment, it was like, wow, that's all I want to do, you know, is just like sing these songs with people. And so we then, because of COVID, actually before COVID even happened, we set up a Patreon page, because many people, wherever we travel in the world, people would say, oh, you know, I can't come to London, or I can't come to Portugal or California, like wherever you are, like, you know, I'm in this country, or I'm in Germany, or I'm wherever, I'm in Spain, and like, I can't sing with you, you know, I want to come and I want to be with you, but I can't. So we said, why don't we just do like an online thing where we upload all of our videos and our songs, but we also hold live stream events where people can come and sing with us. And so that's something that we've set up. And that's on our Patreon page. You can find it in my social media, and the links are there. It's called Gather. And that for me has just been the most like potent medicine. Because wherever we are, whatever we're going through, whatever challenges we're facing, like there's this community, there's this family, you know, and this like support of all of us together. We all feel the same. And we all share this love of singing and this devotion and going deeper into the heart, you know, and growing. And so it's like a space where we can all come together and really just be held in that together. And so for me, I'm really, really grateful to have that, that online space, and also the physical events, you know, the ceremonies that we hold for me are like so beautiful. And at this time we can't really do them. So because everything's gone online, it's almost like we preempted it happening. It was like we set all of this up before, and then it was like nobody could come to events or hold events. So now everything is online. So yeah, you can find us there and sing with us there, and yeah.
I'm looking forward to joining you there too. And it's interesting that actually coming back to Muji, he was like kind of the person who made like a bridge between you and me. And I think that's something that might have happened to many other people. And I had the great opportunity to meet Muji also in Madrid. And it was impressive because just when he got on stage, he had the capacity of bringing into a quiet and completely peaceful state to to an audience of almost no more than 1,000 people. And I had never seen anything like that. You know, it was just with one person's presence, not talking, just making like this with the hand, and all the people. And yeah, and time disappeared, and then I found your video singing. I don't remember the name of the song. I just don't remember the song that you have also on Spotify. Grace, whatever of your
Light of Your Grace.
Light of your Grace, yeah. And then I started to,
Yeah.
and I found you, and it was wow. I think I want to meet this guy because I really felt connected. Yeah, to everything you're saying. Thank you, Sam.
Can I say something about that video? Light of Your Grace is a video I have shared this with a lot of people. There's something there so that we are not used to see, the way you look to Molly's eyes, and Muji is there, and it's so much purity, santidad, ¿cómo se llama? Santidad,
Holiness.
Peter, santidad,
Holiness.
holiness. It's this, yeah. It's like we're used to see a girl and a boy singing in a very beautiful ways, but you know, in that song, God was included, and it's amazing. It's like a reflection of that love that everyone wants to to feel, to have, and that love can only be there if you include God, no? So it's so beautiful, and I think that video can really open a lot of young people the connection with the spiritual, loving, radical path. No, so
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, I feel it's the same, you know, this song, it has a real potency. I feel every song actually that's sung in satsang with Babaji, or any teacher for that matter, it doesn't have to be him, but for me, the presence of him is also in the song, you know, and that's why we're now recording an album of all of our devotional music, and we didn't include this song because the song is perfect, even though it's just a live recording. It's like it doesn't need anything because the purity and the presence of God, like you're saying, is already there, you know. And it's like I feel there was no like, it's so funny how it unfolded because we'd wrote this song, the song had come through us, like we were just sitting together maybe like 2 days before this event had happened, and you know, we are just singing the song and we couldn't stop singing it. It was like Om Purva Swaha. It just like felt so good. And we just kept singing, kept singing, kept singing, kept singing. And then our friend Gautama from the ashram said, hey, we're gonna have satsang. Babaji wants you to sing at the end. Would you sing? And of course, yeah. We had the perfect song. And he said, oh, what song is it? And so we said, it's a new song, like, you know, we sung it to him and he was like, yes, that's going to be the right song. And we were like, what do you mean? Like, this is the perfect song. And so we were kind of like, you know, we really wanted to sing this song because we were so in love with it and it felt so beautiful. But he was like, well, it depends, you know, on the way that the satsang goes, because sometimes, you know, it can end in different ways, you know, depending on what the last question was and like, and so we were kind of like, okay, well, we'll have another one. So he was like, have another one just in case. And we sung him another song. I can't remember which one. And he was like, okay, yeah, that one's perfect. And we were kind of like, oh, we don't want to sing that one. We want to sing Light of Your Grace. And so when we got up, we were like, you know, called up to sing. And we were all like sitting there. And I just looked at Molly and I was like, we're going to sing that song. And she was like, yeah, we're going to sing that song. And it just came like that, you know. And I'm so happy that we did because it was just the perfect song, you know. It just like fit so well. And yeah, I also feel like we were speaking with a friend the other day and saying the same thing, you know. It's really because of the devotion. It's really because of the purity of the heart, you know. And that doesn't matter. We were speaking with a friend who was saying about this music that was sung in satsang with another teacher. And it's the same thing, you know, like when I listen to that music, it's like it has the same effect because it's that purity, it's that devotion. And yeah, for me, it's like God is not somewhere else, you know, God is within us. God is everywhere, you know. It's not, he is everything and is also us. And God also is expressing through us. And we are all unique expressions of consciousness, of God, of life. So never be afraid of your expression. You know, God is one, but it expresses in many, many different ways. It expresses Maria as Alba, as Pedro, as Sam, as Molly, as Babaji, as we're all God, just playing out different roles. So don't be afraid of your own unique expression and really, really trust in that. You know, it doesn't need to be something that is gonna sell lots of music and be number one on the radio. But as long as it touches your heart in that way, then for me, that's what it's about, you know. And so that's why, again, me and Molly are really like committed to creating this album together now of these songs, because for us, we've just seen that it's like all we want to do, you know. It's like sometimes I will like, you know, go to like, you know, I have an idea for a song and I'll be playing it and I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but you know, I just want to sing these devotional songs, you know. So, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see what way life flows. But yeah, thank you for that reflection. I really appreciate that, and I feel very, very grateful that that song is touching so many people, and I hope the younger people too, that they can really see that and get some inspiration from that too. Mm.
And just to go to the last questions, I would really like to know who were like your who were and who are your inspirations. I know that you, as you said before, and also in other interviews, like Bob Marley, the Beatles, and I would like to know any others which maybe came later or are still now an inspiration. I'm also interested into what kind of music are you listening to now? Like a little bit about that, and not only music, also like teachers or people who inspire you.
Yeah, I have many. I was actually just gonna pull up some because I can never remember them, so I just wanted to like bring up what I've been listening to. But yeah, I feel like. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah, perfect.
it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like for me, my biggest inspiration is Bob Marley because like he is able to bring the spirit through, and he carries this vibration, this positive vibration of like, you know, his culture and Rastafari and God and freedom and liberty. And for me, when I connect with his spirit, I really feel I can resonate with that. I resonate with that sense of freedom and liberty and love, you know, the love of God and righteousness and living in harmony with nature and with each other, you know, one love, you know. So if I had to pick one, it would be him over anyone every day. Um, but I also really love, wow, so many people. I've been listening to Matt Corby. I really love his voice. Janavi Harrison, the Awaken Love Band. Ajit is also another favorite of mine. Philippe Foxes, I love. Xavier Rudd, I love. Krishna Das, I love. Skip Marley, I've been listening to his music as well. He's like the grandson of Bob. He's amazing. Brett Dennen, I love. Mike Love, Nick Mulvey, Trevor Hall, my friend Roman, Tom Smith, Paul Isaac from Hawaii, Tubby Love and Amber Lily, Rising Appalachia, Shimshai and Susanna. I'm just naming all of them now. Who else do we have recently played? Let me see. Yeah, so many, you know. And I don't really like just one type of music, you know. I also love, you know, like funky music, like classical music, soulful music, anything with like soul and heart and passion and like, you know, like I have to feel it. I want to feel that, like. So yeah, anything in that way, then yeah, I like it. But those are a few, and then just people that influence me in general. I mean, just really any great saint or any, you know, like Jesus Christ, the Buddha, Haile Selassie, Bob Marley, Ramana Maharshi, Neem Karoli Baba, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, Mahadev Ki, Ramakrishna, Anandamayi Ma, Eckhart Tolle, Tara Brach, I really like. Yeah, many, many people. I'm influenced by many, many people, but really just life itself, you know. Life is our teacher, and that's what I feel. It's like when Ramana was asked, "Who is your guru?" he said, "My guru is life." You know, I don't have one person because life is constantly teaching us, you know. And the more that you can become humble and open to receive its teaching, you know, it might come in the form of something that seems negative, you know, but ultimately it's like, I know that that also is a teaching, is a lesson, is a blessing from God. So Yeah, everything has its place, and the more that we can see that, and the more that we can really just like have a deep reverence for life, for nature, for one another, regardless of our beliefs, regardless of our religion or any of that, you know, just really loving everyone for who they are and how they express, knowing that each one of us is consciousness that is just expressing in a different way, with a different face, with a different accent, with a different language, but ultimately it's the same one. In the same way you have a red flower and a blue flower. They're both flowers, but they just express in a different way. And that's like us. We're all like flowers in the garden of life, and we all express in our own unique way. And the more that we can honor that and love that diversity and not criticize and feel this separation from one another, but really just come back into that field of harmony, of that one love, that one life that we are all a part of. We're all on this one planet, this one earth, in this universe together. The more that we can recognize and feel that, then I feel like, yeah, we'll be very, very happy.
That's lovely, Sam. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you guys so much.
thank you. Thank you. It was lovely. Now I only have just one last question that came to me, and it's like, what's the last thing you do before you go to bed? Like, what's the last thing before you go to sleep? Any?
Well, yeah, I don't have like a ritual in that way. I don't have a ritual before I go to bed, but every time I wake up, I try to just sit and do it, like sit in meditation. And I like to listen to sometimes like a talk or a satsang in the morning, and just to really kind of hit that reset button, you know, because sometimes when we wake up, we might like, you know, have thoughts going on and different things about like what's going to happen in the day. So it's nice really for me to just wake up and almost like just sit and just to be, and you know, sit in front of my shrine and just like look into the eyes of my beloveds, and yeah, just feel that presence, feel that connection, and then go about my day, you know. But before bed, I don't have anything. I brush my teeth, and yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else before bed. But what do you do before bed?
What do I do before bed? I say thank you to five things before going to sleep. It really works. I heard that from a friend from Spain who is called Lucia Terol, and she was like making this exercise and she proposed it, and it's really cool. Like maybe when you're having like a down day and actually you start to say thank you. Most of the times it's like thank you to things which are not physical, but how you just go with a different energy to to the dream world. Yeah, yeah. So it's really nice.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. It's like the energy.
absolutely, it's so beautiful. Thank you. I'm gonna do that tonight.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Saying thank you to five things, and it has just become like a habit, and it's like, yeah, because maybe even if I had a discussion or a very rainy day in my head, it's like, "Phew, okay, I I feel free now." Okay, so I don't.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that's everything. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if Alba or Maria want to say anything else, or if you want to say anything else. I feel this as a gift, and what I love about interviews is like offering them. You know, then I receive some. I think that you can learn so much from conversations, and I'm sure that the Spanish community is going to love this, to know a little bit more about you and the things that touched you. So thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
María Alba, si queréis.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, I just want to express my deep gratitude, because I can see how is love who guides your life, and I can see how you are able to share that love through your music, through your silence, through the way you pray, through the way you look your partner Molly. And I think that's what really inspire
Yeah.
inspire us. And I just want to say you thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much. Bless you. Mm. Mm.
Well, so ¿quieres decirte algo, María? No se te escucha, María.
Thank.
Ahora.
No, ahora?
Sí.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Sam, to Pedro, to Alba, to all the people that will watch this video, and thank you to Molly too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure she's sending her love to all of you. So, yes. Bless you guys.
Bless you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, have a nice day, and yeah, looking forward to meeting you in person, and much love for you, for your project, for everything, for your people. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias, Sam. Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, hasta la próxima. Bye bye. See you.
Si te ha gustado este vídeo, te invito a que te suscribas al canal y a que lo compartas con aquellas personas a las que creas que también le puede gustar. Un fuerte abrazo y seguimos.